Welcome to another edition of Tackle Talk Live, but this one is Topic of the Week. Tackle Talk Live Topic of the Week. I'm Steve Graff, Ranger, Daiwa Pro staffer, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean. And Kevin, you know, both of us fish the pro-am side of tournaments, fishing as boaters / pros, and we got co-anglers in the back. And but today we're going to give that a lot of attention as to the rules of a co-angler and the unspoken rules of co-anglers, and kind of give you an idea. This will be, if you're a new angler looking to join one of these pro-am circuits like the BFLs or the Central Opens or
the Toyota Series now.
The Toyota Series, yeah. I mean, the FLW Series. I mean, there's so many things out there that you can fish that are pro-am / type tournaments. You can definitely, this show is for you. You'll learn a lot. And again, we want everybody to have a good time in the boat. But real quick, we have a new sponsor, our first initial sponsor of Tackle Talk Live. Kevin, tell us who it is.
The Boat Shop in Shreveport is our new sponsor, a dealership in tune to what your boat or engine needs to stay on the water. Raymond Kidd and his staff take great pride in keeping your engine running right. A certified Yamaha dealer and home to the best motor on the market today, the Yamaha Show.
Yep.
They also carry a best aluminum boats around, the Sea Arc. Stop by and make sure you check out if you're in the market for a new aluminum boat.
Yep.
The address is 2410 Sanford Avenue in Shreveport, and let the Boat Shop take care of your needs. Give them a call, 318-402-0399, or you can go to their website, shreveportboatshop.com.
And again, thank you, Raymond Kidd, for making the commitment to us. We're going to make a commitment to him. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of Tackle Talk Live, there's ways you can get in touch with us. You can either personal message us on Facebook. So that's probably the best way to get in touch with us, and we'll respond. And we are getting some inquiries, so look forward to visiting with you guys and explaining to you exactly what we're trying to do for you. I mean, we're here for you. We're about you, the sponsor, and we want to make sure that you get your money's worth. Now, all right, back to the top. The unspoken and actual rules for co-anglers and boaters / pros when you're fishing these pro-am events. Number one thing that is a hot button topic, and I know we've had Ken Smith on our show in the past, and this is something I know Ken has harped on his page, kensmithfishing.com. It's expected as a co-angler that you help with gas money. It's not a rule, but they do mention at the rules meeting, hey, co-anglers, make sure you give your boater 40, 60, whatever. If he burns a lot of gas, just help him out with gas. I know as a boater, I don't expect a lot of money, but if you're willing to help pay for the gas to offset the practice time, because let's face it, Kevin, we put at least 2 days, sometimes 3 days in on practice, trying to find fish and running all over the place.
You're not trying to find fish just for yourself. You're trying to find fish for the co-angler that's coming to go with you. So as a co-angler, when you get in the boat with them, you just, hey, here's some gas money. That's going to, I appreciate you putting in the time, because a lot of the co-anglers don't. That's why they fish the co-angler side. One, they don't have the time, or they're trying to learn, and it's just kind of a, thank you for putting in the time to help me during this tournament.
Exactly, and just a little bit of money goes a long way to just making it easier for that boater / pro to operate and go out and spend time on the water to help you as a co-angler catch fish. So number two.
It's a rule that co-anglers not use their cell phone or any device to mark locations on tournament day. So basically no pin dropping.
Exactly.
Now, a lot of co-anglers don't realize, a lot of boaters that fish the BFL stuff don't realize you're not supposed to be on your phone.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Throughout the day in a lot of tournaments nowadays, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
For any other option, unless it is an emergency situation or you need to call a family member. Now, if you do need to call somebody, you're supposed to put them on speaker and have it out so the co-angler can see.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to share waypoints or share, hey, I can call you and say, hey, the fish are biting, come here.
Right.
Now I can come find you on the water and say, hey, follow me, but you're not supposed to be using your cell phone at all.
That's right. That's right. And I've had anglers in the boat with me. Had a young man one day that told me when he got in as a co-angler, he said, Mr. Steve, if you don't mind, I'm going to leave my cell phone on. I'm expecting a call. My grandfather may pass away today while I'm actually on the water.
Right.
Well, sure, no problem. And sure enough, 40 minutes into the tournament, he got that call, and we ended up getting him back to the bank. And actually, he had 3 fish in the live well early, and the tournament director allowed me to weigh his fish in for him late in the day, and I babysat his fish for him all day. I didn't mind doing that.
Right.
But again, your cell phone should be basically turned off unless you have an emergency. It makes your
pro uneasy. If I'm sitting here fishing, and guys, you're getting some of the best spots that we have. I mean, we're going to places to win the tournament. So if I got a guy behind me, every time I stop, he gets his cell phone out, I'm just uneasy about it. I really am.
Well, and we had an incident at the FLW tour on Sam Rayburn where the guy leading the tournament, his marshal on day 1, marked his spot.
Well, he was in second going into championship day.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he marked John Cox's spot and went and fished it while the tournament was still going on. And again, it's just there's no place for that. I've had one incident where a co-angler recently was pin dropping, and you just don't need to be doing that.
No,
okay?
No, not at all.
It doesn't do you any good.
And it can come back to you not being able to fish in them tournaments. Exactly. Again, if that happens and somehow it gets back to the tournament director, then they're not going to allow you back in any more of the tournaments.
You're exactly right. Number 3, don't throw past the boater or pro/pro in front of the boat. It's an actual rule. If you want to fish in front of the boat, pay the money and enter as a boater. But that's frustrated me over the last 3 years. I've actually drawn some guys that continue to want to throw in front of me, and I've had to call them out on it. And I tell them, did you not listen at the rules meeting? At first, I'm nice about it. Hey, man, don't throw past me if you don't mind. And then when they keep doing it, it really frustrates you. And then I have to get ugly with them and say, did you not listen at the meeting? They actually say at the meeting, you're not allowed to throw past the boater in front of the boat.
What I use, for example, if you ever watch Ultimate Match Fishing, that line,
that's exactly
that line's right there. You don't throw in front of the line. I want to put a line on.
Maybe we need to have our boats marked. That's a good suggestion. I'm going to make that suggestion to FLW and ABA because it really can ruin your day when you got guys throwing over your line or throwing on top of you. You're working a bait, and all of a sudden here's a spinnerbait lands right on top of where you're working, and you're like, really? I mean, come on, guys. There's plenty of water. Here's the other thing, Kevin. I say all these stuff, and I put these rules together as a guy that has fished as a co-angler in the back of the boat.
Right.
I really believe if you're a boater, at some point in your career, you should have had to fish out of the back of the boat for one season to get an understanding of what that's really like.
And I did as well. When I was in college here at Northwestern State University, I fished my freshman, sophomore year, I fished BFLs and Federation H, different things as a co-angler. So we both kind of have came from that, have done that before. You did it on a level where guys are fishing for a living at $100,000.
Exactly.
So you especially know if anybody does know for sure.
And I made sure, and again, there's plenty of water back there to fish. You know, you but so many guys want to throw in front and think that's where they need to be. And
that makes for a long day for both of you.
It does make for a long day. Number 4, Kev.
If a boater or your pro misses a fish, don't throw in on the same fish he just missed unless he gives you permission. Now, see, this is a nightmare for me. This happened to me 2-3 years ago, BFL and Sam Rayburn. I'm sight fishing. I got a 5 or 6 pounder on the bed. I'm flipping. Finally got her to eat it, set the hook, missed, took my bait. Yeah. I'm power poled down.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where he can't
He's not
throw.
Supposed to.
No, he's not supposed to throw. So lost my bait, and I needed, I found something in my line, so I sat down and retied. As I'm retying, I didn't realize my poles had come up, so my boat kind of drifted. And when it drifted just a little bit, next thing I know, he fired in there, first cast 6-3.
Yeah.
And it was one of them things, you're mad the rest of the day. I've been working on that fish 10 or 15 minutes. I got her fired up. Yep. Finally got her to bite. I missed her. Next thing I know, while I'm sitting down retying, he fires in there and catches her. Now, especially when you're sitting there working on one in the bed, but he knows I was throwing at that fish.
Right.
That's just something you don't do.
And so many times, guys, I have, especially if I've got a limit and I know my co-angler's struggling, one of the things I will do, if I throw in a spot and I miss a fish and I've got to do some re-rigging to get it ready to go back in there again, I'll tell my guy, hey, throw right in there. Throw right in there. That fish is there. I'll try to help my guy out. I will do that. But I don't want you doing it on your own without permission. If nothing else, just ask the guy, hey, you mind if I throw in there?
Yeah.
He's going to tell you yes or no. No, I need to re-rig. I want another shot at that fish, or whatever. honor the guy that's in the front of the boat, because he is the boater. He is the guy that's put in the time and the money.
The money, yeah.
To scout. He found that fish on a cypress tree, and he knows that 6-pounder's there, and he misses it. He don't need you throwing in there behind him and catching it. That actually happened to me on Red River. I'm in the top 5 going in the final day, the BFL regionals, and I had a co-angler. I literally had to threaten him, Kevin, to not sign his weigh slip.
Wow.
He threw over me 3 times and threw in 2 holes after I caught fish off, and he's throwing immediately. I don't even have the fish in the boat yet, and he's throwing in there.
Yeah.
He's not getting the net for me. He's throwing in there. And I almost had to refuse to sign his waist. That's the most confrontational situation I've had as a boater, and it didn't end very well. We didn't end up being good friends, I'll promise you that. He didn't get a Christmas card that year. Number 5. Don't handicap the boater due to any health conditions. If you're not healthy enough to endure the rigors of a tournament, like bad weather or rough water, do not fish, because you're hindering your boater when you trying to put restrictions. That happened to me in a tournament. I actually had to get a guy out of my boat because he was handicapping me as an angler because of an injury he had. He couldn't run across rough water. Wanted me to fish close to the boat ramp. I tried to accommodate him for the first couple hours, and I finally said, I got fish across the lake. I got to go to him. And it was 3-foot rollers. It was rough, but I had to go. He wouldn't go. And
again, you put all this time in practicing and locating all these fish, but he's from a health point, they're not able to go to the fish. You've worked all week and wasted all this money to go find. Number 6, while it's not a rule, it's expected you know how to net a fish.
Yes.
This is one that, you can really hurt. I know I've heard, luckily I've always been fortunate to never have that come up, but I've heard of some horror rules of people trying to net fish and knocking them off, so on and so forth. And it's just, this is something you got to be familiar with it. Now, my biggest thing on that is when to get the net, when to not get the net.
Right.
If I set the hook and say net, I might be wrong. I might think it's a big one. It might be a 2-pounder.
Right.
Some days them 2-pounders are worth something, and they'll
taken 5 2-pounders last week with no problem.
And they'll turn around. Oh, I ain't a big one. And put the net down. No. This is a keeper. Let's get this one in the boat.
Yeah, and be ready to get the net. Always have the net out in a position where both anglers can get to it.
Right.
That's my deal. I always make sure the net's laid in a position.
Not only for the pros got to get it as well.
I'm going to net his fish too. And another thing, too, when it comes to netting fish, one of my golden rules, and I'll tell my guys before takeoff, I'll ask him, all right, when you net my fish, here's what I like you to do. Put the net in the water. Let me bring the fish to you.
Correct.
And you scoop him.
Don't jab.
Don't jab at the fish. Don't stab at him, because a lot of times that fish will move when you make that stab and you knock that fish off. So let's see here. Number 7. Be on time. Make sure you communicate with your boater / pro or on when and where you will meet him that before takeoff.
Now, saying that, Steve, we say be on time. Let's say something happens. Communicate.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know I'm going to be late, call them. Look, I apologize. I'm going to be late. This goes again for pros and co-anglers.
Yep.
You have to communicate the morning of, hey, look, I'm going to be 5-10 minutes late, because there's nothing worse than sitting there waiting and they're 10-15 minutes late and you haven't heard from them yet.
Had an incident this past weekend at Sam Rayburn. A guy sitting next to me before takeoff. We're all sitting there waiting for takeoff that morning. He's by himself. I said, "Where's your co-angler?" He said, "Well, he's not here yet. He's overslept or whatever." He said, I hadn't heard from him. And finally,
you can't leave. As a pro, you cannot leave takeoff till
you have to have that guy with you. Well, 10 minutes before they're getting ready to announce takeoff, and he's like boat number 22, he's got to go to the bank. Mm-hmm. His angler finally shows up. He's late. Doesn't call him until he gets to the ramp. He's been trying to communicate with the guy all morning. He's not answering his phone. The guy was really ticked. So his whole day was probably ruined to start off.
Yeah.
Because fishing is such a mental game. And the last thing you want is something like that knocking you off your game. Let's see. What's
number 8?
Yeah. Let your boater. Is this me or you?
I believe it's me. Let your boater pro know whether you can back up a boat trailer.
Yeah.
This can be a problem for your pro and for everybody else in the line.
Yes, waiting to launch.
If you don't feel comfortable backing him in, that's fine. But you need to be honest with them, because if you can't, and it's going to take you 15 minutes to get that boat down the boat ramp, you're not only holding up your pro, but you're holding up everybody else in line.
Exactly. And when you're dealing with 240 something teams in a team event.
That's putting in at one ramp.
Yeah, putting in at the same ramp, and it just really causes a lot of problems for guys. So I've gotten where I'll position my boat, I'll back it down actually to the ramp, and then I'll get out, and all he has to do is back me down 20, 30 feet in the water. But I'll ask him when we're in the truck, can you back a trailer? Right. And they'll tell you yes. And I've had some say, man, I'm not good at that. Okay, no big deal. I'll do it. I don't mind doing it. Just let me know.
Right.
And of course, the other thing, the problem I've got, whoever designs boat ramps with curbs, that dude has never backed a boat down a ramp before, because those are they mess up your rims, they mess up your tires. Why? I like Rayburn. They're set up little rock piles, if you're off the ramp. But you
don't hurt your...
But you're not tearing something up on your trailer.
And sometimes as a pro, you get lucky. I remember several years ago, a good friend of mine, Dwayne Dennis, now who's a co-angler, I said, man, can you back me in? He's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm a truck driver. He was zooming and swerving and everything, and he got me down in there. So exactly. He's the guy you need.
Exactly. Number 9, another unwritten rule. If you practice with another boater, we're talking about practice now. That's right, practice. If you're practicing with a boater or /pro, don't share his secret spots or techniques he used during practice to catch his fish.
Now, another thing to go on the note of that, if it's a 2-day event, do not share what your pro did the prior day.
The first day. Right.
So no, that is a big no right there.
Exactly. And that's a major sticker with a lot of guys. And we all know it goes on. Guys can't help themselves. They're going to talk, especially when you had a guy like Anthony, catching 6-7 pounders. Boy, he's probably glad he didn't have somebody practicing with him, because
Absolutely.
The secret might have been out. And it don't take but one guy telling somebody where that spot's at, and next thing you know...
Or if it's a bait-specific type deal.
Oh, exactly.
If I'm catching them on this color and, it's bait... And next thing you know, you're leading the tournament. Well, the person you had on day 1's with somebody on day 2, and all of a sudden they know how to catch them now.
I'll be honest with you, Kevin, and I don't know how you feel, but that's why I don't like practicing with guys before the event. I'd rather be by myself. I don't have to worry about that then, but that's just me.
Number 10, keep your tackle organized and be ready to go when the boater says, let's move. Now, This is my pet peeve.
Yeah.
I fish deep a lot, and I want to, all right, this is my last cast. Well, I make that last cast, and it's a long one, and a lot of times, I'm fishing a Carolina rig or a jig or something, I'm fishing slow back. When I get that in, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I throw that rod down, I strap it, I throw my trolling motor up, and I get it, and I'm gone.
Yep.
And,
But you always tell your coach, last cast.
Last cast.
That's how I do the same thing. Yeah.
And if you've got 3 rods strolled across the back deck or got your tackle open, if you're a client, reel it in, go ahead and put all that stuff up. Don't wait for them to finish their last cast.
Right.
Because as a boater, all I got to do is strap this rod down. I'm ready to go.
Exactly.
And, I mean, there's nothing worse than sitting there steering wheel, life jacket zipped, and you can't even crank your motor yet because they haven't put their life jacket on.
You're exactly right. Another thing I'll do too, as a boater, as a courtesy, a lot of times before I make a move, I'll tell my guy, okay, I made my last cast, but I'm going to change something out. You keep fishing. And I'll lock the boat down on a spot, maybe where he can make some good casts. And I'll tell him, hey, if you want to throw it front, throw it front. Right. I'll let him do that then while I'm retying. But when I'm through tying, I'm locking them down. We're gone.
Yeah.
We're making the
move.
Ready to go. So number 11, be respectful, courteous, and understand the time, effort, and gas the boater /pro has put into trying to locate bass. Even when you don't catch them, that does not mean the effort nor the time was put in.
We've all had bad days on water, Steve. I don't care who you are. Kevin Van Dam has bad days. He had a bad year last year.
Yeah.
You're going to have it, and the last thing you need is a co-angler in your ear, just being very negative.
Right.
It's as you said a while ago, fishing is a mental sport.
Yep.
It can mentally get you down, and you're out.
Exactly.
And you don't need the negative co-angler there or negative pro putting you down or putting down. Well, have you been this week? Did you really catch any here? That doesn't make for a good day.
Number 12, I'm gonna let you take it, Kevin. This is, again, Kevin's gonna read it, but it's really my point of view on this topic. Kevin, man, I have the same feeling, and he'll let me know if he doesn't.
Now, on the boater side, the one thing I feel should be outlawed in a pro-am event is sight fishing. It really puts the co-angler in a huge disadvantage.
And I mean sight fishing all day.
Right.
Now, if you pull up on a fish, Kevin, and I'm fishing co-angler, and you say, oh, there's a fish on a bed, I'm going to fish that fish for 5 or 10 minutes. No problem. I have no problem with that. Right. I'm good with you doing that. But don't do that to me all day long.
Well, there's something. Now, yes, I agree with you, but I disagree. I'm a sight fisherman. I like to sight fish, especially in tournaments. As long as I don't tell him you can't throw up there. If I'm going to pole down and sight fish on this fish, then my co-angler should be able to throw anywhere he wants, basically, except for the fish that I'm throwing at.
Especially
and I'm fine with that.
If you're nose down on him. Yeah, boat's pointed towards
because
him.
a lot of times you're in a cove. A lot of times you're in a cove somewhere,
right?
And now the co-angler can really slow down and pick that cove apart behind you.
Right.
I don't think as a boater, if you're going to focus on that one fish, I don't think you should be able to say, okay, you only can throw behind the boat. You should be able to let the co-angler throw wherever he wants to throw, as long as it's not at the fish you're throwing
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Number 13, as a boater, it's your responsibility to get your co-angler back safely. His family, his wife, his kids are depending on you as a boater to make sure that happens. So my point is, don't do things that are risk, that put you or your co-angler at risk on the water with speed, handling rough water, not navigating properly. Do make sure you get him back. It's also your responsibility to not put your co-angler at a disadvantage, like boat positioning when fishing deep water. Example, the Toledo Bend. Let's just be honest. Cody Huff put his guy at a disadvantage the way he fished. He fished Toledo Bend like a video game with looking at his electronics and dropping a spoon straight down on top of him. Well, the guy in the back, he doesn't have that
That's
luxury.
worse than having somebody at sight fishing.
That is worse than sight fishing.
That's way worse.
Number one, he's in 30 foot of water.
Yeah, and what are you going to do if Cody, we're using Cody for example, but and he's doing what he's got to do to win the tournament.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's just, and honestly, co-anglers say it, it's the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
It really is for you. Number 14. I also feel it's my responsibility as a boater to help my co-angler catch his limit. That means even sharing the baits that he may not have, or since he's limited to the amount of tackle he can bring.
Yeah.
Now this is, especially again for a deep guy like I am. This past weekend on Sam Rayburn, I had a deep spot. I ran straight to it. I got my limit in about 10 minutes.
Right.
Wasn't any big ones, all 2-pounders. But I turned the boat around, let my co-angler fire in there. I had a lady with me. She actually had she got 3 keepers on it, and they kind of slacked off. So we both made a decision. All right, let's move on.
Right.
But especially if you're pulling up to a spot that you got your limit really fast, turn that boat around and give them 10 or 15 minutes to get their limit.
Exactly. And another thing I will do too, if I got a particular worm, a particular style bait that I'm catching my fish on, and I got plenty of them. Now there are times, and there have been times where I've got caught shorthanded myself on a particular.
And you stole something from your co-angler.
Yeah. Hey, do you have these? But if he has them, he's willing to share. Great. But sometimes I'm not willing to share. If I got one bag left and we're catching a bunch of fish, I'm like, man, I would love to give you a couple, but this is all I got.
Yeah.
So, but most of the time with worms, I usually got 2 or 3 bags extra that I'll let my co-angler, here, I'll give him 3 of them, throw them on the back deck, here, throw that right there.
It's not a point, Steve, but no, especially if you're towards the end of the season, know where your co-angler is points wise.
Yes.
If it's somebody that's doing really well in the points,
and
especially, all they need is a limit or a couple fish, you need to help them out.
Exactly.
In that situation.
Yep.
They fish their butt off all year long to get to this point. You need to help them out as much as you can without putting yourself at a disadvantage.
This happened last year on Toledo Bend. I had a co-angler, second place going into the final tournament. I catch 2 limits early that morning, and I tell him what he needs to be throwing. And he's wanting to do his own thing, but he hadn't had a bite. It comes 1 o'clock. He still hasn't had a bite. I've caught 3 limits, and I've offered him exactly what I'm throwing. Don't be hard-headed enough that you don't take the advice of the guy that's catching fish. Even if you're a co-angler, you're kicking my tail out of the back of the boat, I'm going to ask you, what are you doing? Do you have any more of those? Let me see what you're throwing. And if I've got something I can duplicate it, I'm going to pull something out to match what you're doing. Right. Don't be hard-headed. Be open-minded. That's the key. All your pros will tell you the key to success is the guys that are open-minded on tour. So
absolutely,
that gives you the best opportunity to win. Okay, hopefully these tips will help you understand the roles of both co-angler and the boater in your next Pro-Am event. Again, we encourage you to fish, especially if you're a young angler. There's no better way to learn, Kevin, than jumping in these events, because there's some really good anglers out there. May not be fishing for a living, but there's a lot of experience out there in these tournaments.
It might be somebody that's fishing a different technique that you've never fished before. There's so many techniques out there nowadays that you can really learn a lot by jumping in the boat with somebody. Maybe they fish deep. Maybe they're fish or flip trees and you're not used to it, so on and so forth. It really helps you become a better fisherman overall.
Yep. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate you tuning us in. Check us out on Facebook, Tackle Talk Live. Like us. Also check us out YouTube. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe so you'll get notifications when we're going to be on next time. And continue to watch us as we continue to bring you more Tackle Talk Live.